Not working. I'll start video. Joanne, are you on?
Which Joanne? Both of them.
Well, yeah. Oh, we only hire Joanne's and and Carrie's, so I any Joanne. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. It says on my thing, and maybe I'm on the wrong one again, but it says I can't start my video because the host has disabled it.
Yeah, I'll fix you though. I'll fix it. You are on the wrong one, but that's okay. I can fix that.
Okay. It's the reminder that came in, so I just pressed it. I can go back to the other ones if you want me to. All right. People.
Joanne, everybody's video's disabled.
Yeah, and I don't know why. Just give me a second, okay?
Yeah.
Just give me 1 second. Matt's gonna come and take a look because he showed me earlier, but I don't have that option anymore. So I'm not sure. Yeah, just give me a second.
I figured it out.
Okay, so you should all be able to start it now as Matt came and fixed it for us. There we go. Yeah. Thank you. So I gotta start my video too.
There might be an option on the webinar setup.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thanks. My camera. Where do I get volume? Up here?
Joanne, let me know when we have quorum so and I'll start the meeting because I know there were a few on and left and hopefully they'll be back. Sean Dowd, I seen him and now I don't see him.
Yeah, I don't actually know what quorum is because I don't know how many people there are on this committee. But we have enough people to start because I don't think the committee is that much bigger than what we have.
No, it's pretty well everyone.
Okay.
Paul, you're here for Jason?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're good now. Okay.
How do I mute it?
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Did we have any regrets? I had one from John Kenny called me. He can't make the meeting. Other than that, did we have any other? Counselor-
Yeah, I do have, Penny Palmer is not able to attend today. And let me just double check, make sure nothing new has come in. Um, I think that's it.
Okay. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go around and do some introductions because there are a few new faces. So I'll start with our city clerk. Go ahead, Joanne.
So hi, I'm Joanne Hyde. I'm the city clerk. I started here in April, so relatively new to Thorold, but originally from the area.
Catherine, go ahead. I'm going across on my screen just the way it is. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Haberma. I'm the Director of Waste Management Services for the Niagara region.
Okay, Leanne.
Morning, everyone. I'm Leanne Gagnon. I'm Director of Student Services at Niagara College.
Thank you. And I have Stephen Penny's Orbis, their guest today. You want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Morning, Mr. Mayor. We're new residents in Thorpe. We're pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting us. My wife Penny and I look forward to the discussion.
Oh,
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Moore. I'm the Director of Planning and Development Services with the City of Thorold. I'm also new to the city, started in April, just a little bit before Joanne. I'm sitting in for Jason Simpson, who's our Chief Building Official and Chief Bylaw Enforcement Officer, who is off today. Thank you.
thank you. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew. I'm one of the members at large.
Thank you. Paul Carfadini, go ahead.
Hi, I'm a resident and landlord in Thorold, born and raised here, and glad to be part of the committee.
Brad?
Morning, everyone. My name is Brad Clark. I'm the Director of Student Life and Success at Brock University. Happy to be with the group today.
Joanne? Joanne number 2, go ahead.
Hi, guys. I'm Joanne Goulet. I'm the Deputy City Clerk. I'm just returning from maternity leave. I've been here for about a week now, so I'm still trying to get all the committees together and all that fun stuff going on. So I do just want to apologize about all the meetings or the emails I sent. Like I said, I'm trying to get this together. So yeah, hi.
Thank you, Joanne. Idolo?
Idalou, you're still on mute.
Good morning, everybody. Idolo Marandola from Team Marandola Property Management. I'm happy to be here today to participate.
Thank you. I got SAC president. I don't know your name. I'm sorry. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
I guess it's a good thing we're doing these introductions. My name is Sam Jefferson. I promise to work on how my name is displayed. I am the new Niagara College Student Administrative Council President for Welland and Niagara-on-the-Lake. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Penny, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Penny Kramer. I'm a resident, so I'm a member at large, and I've been on the committee for several years. And I look forward to working with all of you.
I have Counselor Sentence.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ken Sentence. I'm a counselor in the city of Thorold, and I am coming to you from work. So I'll be in the background, but looking forward to working with everyone as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Sean Dowd, but it's not Sean, so you're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm here on behalf of Sean Dowd. I was trying to, I apologize, try to sign in under Dan Savoy, but that link wasn't allowing me to get the video on. I could hear you, but I wasn't in the actual meeting for some reason. So I'm here representing the Niagara Regional Police Service on behalf of Sean. I'm acting for him this week. So one district in St. Catharines, and I'm happy to be here to take in the meeting.
Thank you, Dan. And I have, who am I missing here? I've got a couple that I don't have a face, and who's under, it says Joanne Goulet, but it's not Joanne.
No, you also have Terrence Gleason here. I'm a resident here in Thorold, here to speak with other members of the community on a topic we wanted to present to you.
And your name was?
Terrence Gleason.
Terrence, okay, thank you. Did I miss anyone? If I missed someone.
Steve's got his hand up.
My name says Joanne Goulet.
I know.
I'm actually Linda Burak, representing a neighborhood community group.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
Oh,
Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. My name's Steve Kosh. I'm not a voting member on the Town and Gown. Sam, our president, is. I'm on the committee more to add continuance year after year. And nice to meet you and look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you. I have Terrence, it says.
That's right. I just introduced myself.
Okay, I got you before. Yep. Now there's a name.
Good on you, Mayor.
Did I miss anyone? I think we got everyone then. Okay. We'll move on to adoption of agenda, that the Town and Gown Committee adopt the agenda as presented for today's meeting. Is that good with everyone? I need a mover and a seconder. Can I get a mover? I got a mover, Idolo, and a seconder. Penny, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes, that the minutes from the previous meeting be approved. Is there any errors or omissions? Can I get a mover? Oh, go ahead, Penny. Did you have something?
In both times where my name is mentioned in there, the last name is spelled wrong. So if they can correct the spelling.
We will do
Definitely
that.
correct that for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Can I get a mover and seconder for the minutes? I've got Penny as a mover and a seconder, Paul. Paul Carfanini. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And I'm never good at saying that word. I like to say conflict of interest, but that word always mumbles my my speech. But anyway, seeing none, no correspondence, committee business update of a subcommittee meeting held on August 12th, 2021. So just a quick update on that. We had some complaints regarding issues in the Juneberry, especially in the Juneberry Hawthorne area. And rather than wait for this Town and Gown meeting, we held a subcommittee meeting, which we do on a regular basis in between meetings. And we bring our group together, including bylaw from the region, City of Thorold, Waste Management, NRP, Brock University in this case, and it could be Niagara College as well, but in this case, it was Brock University and myself. And we discussed some of the issues raised by residents. And because some of the issues that transpired were issues that normally don't raise up until the end of August into September, and they were coming to our attention much earlier. So we held a meeting, made sure those issues were on our radar, and started implementing a plan. And then we knew we had this meeting coming up to prepare for the upcoming fall semester. So that's what that meeting was about. And traditionally, between our town and gown meeting and Halloween, we also last year we ended up meeting almost on a weekly basis with the subcommittee to make sure that we were on target and we were meeting our objectives, and it worked quite well. So I'm expecting we'll be doing something similar this year. So that's just a quick update on that meeting that was put together prior to this meeting. So up next, start a term fall 2021. And I'll start this off with Brad Clark speaking from a Brock perspective on this. And I'll turn this over to you, Brad, if you want to give us an update.
Certainly happy to, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, everyone. So this item is commonly included in our August town and gown meeting. The clarity towards this coming fall is improving every day. And so what we have included for our group here is some pertinent links. You'll see one of the first links relates to student orientation, which sometimes is kind of simplified to just focus on that first week of September. But I did want to perhaps highlight that instead our orientation approach is a year-long effort. Our new students begin orientation activities in the summer. That ramps up through August with various supports that they're provided around academic preparedness, engagement communities, and other ways to make sure that they are not alone, that they're connected to key resources and peer supports. And then as we now get towards the end of August and beginning of September, what's commonly more known as kind of on our campus anyway, Welcome Week, which is a set of activities designed to help situate new students in their new communities. Of course, in the context of COVID, we have changed a number of the ways that we do those transition supports. Much of it is done through online mediums and virtual activities. But as we now head towards September 2021, we've added in the additional layer of some in-person events and activities that will start at the beginning of September, but actually stretch out through the month, knowing that one of the things that we need to do this year is ensure that the activities that we do in person are run in accordance with public health guidelines. And as we are all aware, in Ontario, Step 3, outdoor gathering is limited at 100. Is one of the parameters that we're working within, in addition to a number of other safety measures. On the whole, though, I would say that our orientation program, specifically Welcome Weeks, is primarily online with some in-person activities, and we're still waiting for some guidance from the province that will let us know the extent to which we can do that. The link that I included has information on all the different orientation programs, summer through the fall, and then continuing through the rest of the school year. And if you click on the Welcome Weeks tab, there's details of all the various events, both virtual and in person. Be very happy to answer questions from the group about.
Excuse me, somebody's got a dog. If they
sorry, that's me, Mr. Mayor. So as soon as I can,
so you're the guilty one. Okay.
He's ready for breakfast, maybe lunch. So as I was saying, there's links to information there, but I'm quite happy to answer questions.
If you want to touch on the vaccination policy at the university, I think should be noted.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Another link that I included in the materials was to our announcement that all members of the Brock community, students, staff, and faculty will be required to be fully vaccinated by October the 15th. The steps that we're taking to implement that mandate are being finalized now. I can say that the preliminary survey that we've done of our student population suggests that the vast majority, upwards of 80%, maybe even 90%, are already vaccinated with 2 doses. But of course, we have still some days to go before the return to campus, which is at the beginning of September.
Okay, did you want to touch on the other two items, or do you want to wait to touch on those, the neighborhood relations initiatives and homecoming?
I wonder, Mr. Mayor, if I could receive any questions on orientation and welcome weeks, and perhaps we go across to the college.
Yeah,
so they can,
good. Okay. So that would be, I think that makes sense. So on that first presentation, orientation and welcome week, Brad's open to take any questions regarding that. So if you'd like to ask a question, if you can use the raise hand function, and if you're not familiar with it, if you raise your hand, I'll make sure you get acknowledged. Go ahead, Idolo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Brad, can you just repeat what you had said about the COVID vaccination? My computer went on silent for a few seconds, so I missed most of that. If you don't mind, if you could repeat that, please.
I don't mind at all. Earlier this month, the university announced that vaccinations will be mandatory for those attending campus. There are some narrow grounds where exemptions would be provided. But again, all students, staff, and faculty are required to be vaccinated with 1 dose by September 7th and with 2 doses by October 15th. Our preliminary surveying suggests that the vast majority of folks are already vaccinated with 2 doses, but we still have some more work to do in putting those steps in place towards the start of term.
Thank you, Brad.
Any other questions for Brad on that particular subject before we move on? Okay, Brad, if you want to speak on the neighborhood relations initiatives.
Certainly can. Mr. Mayor, did you want to check in with the college on?
I'm going to do the college when you're done.
Okay, sure. So as far as neighborhood relations initiatives, and this was another PDF attachment that we included, this is a program that we are focused on continuously through the year. As the mayor mentioned, we've already had meetings with various community partners to work through some of the challenges that have been identified even in August at this point. What you'll see in that summary is kind of a balanced approach. There's a combination of educational initiatives, but also steps that we're taking to support enforcement around municipal bylaws and provincial offenses as well. Of interest to this community commonly are some of the support programs that we have in partnership with the Niagara Regional Police and with the municipal and regional bylaw officers. So you'll see that, for example, around community policing, the university does hire additional special duty NRP officers at key times of the year. This beginning of fall certainly being one of those, to supplement their visibility and ability to address concerns in the local neighborhoods. We also support that with another program that's highlighted in that summary sheet called Off-Campus Patrol, where our campus security officers, many of whom are former NRP officers, also patrol local neighborhoods where we have higher densities of students or where we have present concerns to assist in identifying challenges, and often those are kind of emerging parties, and then to work with the officers to make sure that those are addressed. The last piece I might highlight from that summary sheet is the Welcome Wagon program, which again is focused on helping new students to see themselves as part of a much broader community, in this case, the City of Thorold. We work with various community partners to share information with our new students so that they're aware of municipal bylaws and fire regulations and all of those sorts of things, but also so that they're aware of local businesses and resources so that they can access them as needed. Last piece I'll highlight there is the work that we do with Catherine's office at the region around garbage collection and kind of familiarizing themselves with the local recycling constructs and those sorts of things. So happy to maybe pause there, answer any questions related to the neighborhood relations summary sheet. But again, those are kind of a year-long set of initiatives, and I've more so highlighted the things that we do at this time of the year for this committee at this meeting.
Okay, so that particular portion there, are there any questions for Brad? Paul, go ahead. You're muted, Paul. You're.
Yeah, thanks, Brad, for the update. In terms of the welcome for the Brock students to the business community, in the past, there's been an event, and I know this was pre-COVID, but I was wondering if anything has been discussed about some type of event that conforms with the public health guidelines to introduce the Brock students to the revitalized downtown core.
Yeah, Paul, I appreciate the question, and certainly the events that we ran in the fall of 2019 were very, very successful in both Thorold and St. Catharines. What we know is that with the current public health regulations and gathering limits at 100, that we wouldn't be able to do those in the same format we've done in the past. And so we've transitioned a lot of that material to a virtual mode of delivery. But we do aim to have, and I'll call them pop-up booths, just for maybe for kind of give people a sense in higher density neighborhoods where we can answer questions and provide information, resources and handouts and those sorts of things. We're still rolling out that schedule, but imagine that they would be through the first several weekends of the fall term.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Paul, that was a great initiative, and it was run in conjunction with our BIA. And I would say that that's something, unfortunately, it's not on the radar this year, but we hope to have back next fall, because it was a great initiative, and it was a good introduction to the students to know what we have to offer, especially in our BIA district. So
yeah, I like Brad's point about trying to replicate that type of event, but in a virtual format. And you know, there's some ways that the BIA can support that with you know, a 3D video, you know, a 360 of the downtown to show the Brock students how they can navigate their way through the downtown core. But I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Linda.
Yes, I would like to know, with the summary sheets that you are mentioning, Brad, are we privy to see those summary sheets? Is there minutes that will include them?
They were sent.
My apologies, Linda. They should have been attached to the meeting invite.
Okay.
Yeah, perhaps
and they perhaps are there. I just wasn't aware.
Joanne, Joanne, have they been sent to our guests? And if not, can you send them to our guests, please?
Yes, I can send to the guests.
Perfect. We'll make sure you get those. Okay.
Perfect. And we do have other questions for you, but we'd rather address them once we present our issues.
Thank you. And homecoming is just to give us a brief update on homecoming, Brad, and then we'll move on to Niagara College's president.
Sure. So for 2021, our homecoming will be virtual. The Alumni Association and others on campus have been working to share a set of events for alumni and future alumni, but again, entirely virtual. And so as we move through September and perhaps towards kind of a different construct as far as the Provincial Reopening Act, we'll make adjustments, but at this point, with the limitations, we are presenting homecoming in a virtual format.
Brad, is there going to be a Steel Blade Classic, or is that not being done this year?
So again, OUA competition is likely still to take place. So, you know, it's likely that there will be a hockey game, and Brock will compete with the Guelph Griffins, but it won't be in the
same form.
Yeah, it's not determined even if there would be spectators at sporting events of that nature at this point.
I know the Ontario Hockey League released a thing with the Ice Dogs saying that they will, I don't know on capacity for games, but anyone that attends a game is going to have to be fully vaccinated. That's going to be one of the things for their upcoming games, but they haven't given any details yet. So, okay, so that's
Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
So I did notice that Kayla Rosetto from the Brock Nurses Students Union is now on the call, and I didn't want to.
No, I seen her, and I'll be asking her to speak under community partners when we get there. Catherine, you had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brad, I know you're talking about orientation week and most of the events or all the events being virtual, but you did mention the welcome wagon. So is the intention then for folks to be walking around again, dropping information at known student houses and talking to students, or is that going to look a bit different this year as well?
It will look a little bit different than the one that we're most familiar with as this group. I expected it would be again, localized. I call them pop-up booths, but kind of like activations where we're in higher density neighborhoods, not necessarily going generally door to door. That said, where we identify problematic or challenging properties through our neighborhood relations protocol, we are intending to go to those homes specifically. Yeah, we'll engage with your group, Catherine, to make sure we have any materials that you want to see included. But the Good Neighbor Guide, as it would normally be produced, is at print right now, as well as the digital version, and we'll look to distribute that through those in-person pop-up booths I was describing, as well as the targeted neighborhood visits, in addition to sending it broadly to all Brock students through their Brock email accounts.
Thank you, Brad. So I will offer, if you need resources out and about with your team, let me know and we'll see what we have available for you.
That'll be great, Catherine, because that's an important initiative. Okay, I'm going to turn over to Niagara College. Leanne, are you going to be the one that can give us this information? If you want to cover the same thing about orientation, welcome weeks, community relations and homecoming, and then I'll open the floor for questions to your group as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe a little bit different from Brad, just given the scope, but wanted to share with you that with the significant increase in on-campus learning services and activities that we're expecting this fall, Niagara College announced on August 16th that we require all of our students, our employees, and our contractors who are on campus to be vaccinated. So this is going to be our mandatory vaccination policy that we're implementing. We're also been planning vaccination clinics to be offered, we're hoping in September as well. We've been working with a local pharmacy. Actually, I started that work a few weeks. I just returned from vacation as of today, but making sure that for those students that haven't had an opportunity to be vaccinated, that we can obviously assist them in referring them to clinics in the Niagara region, but we'll also be offering that. We'll also have a triage tent available for students who are arriving on campus, yet they are denied access, or perhaps they've not been vaccinated, haven't met the criteria to be on campus. And so my team from Student Services will be staffing the triage tents. And really it's to help answer questions and provide them with next steps and what they can do so they can gain access to the campus. Obviously, we've been working very closely with public health as well as Brock. We meet with them on a weekly basis, and everything that we're doing is in compliance with the restrictions that have been imposed. And so we're working diligently to make sure that our students and our staff are as safe as possible and following their guidance and guidelines. In terms of orientation, similar to Brock, our orientations continue throughout the semester. However, our pre-orientation, which we've called Kickstart, has already commenced. And that really is to help our students that are entering the college for the first time seamlessly transition into post-secondary, specifically Niagara College, so that it's less anxiety provoking for them. We'll continue to offer this fall a hybrid format for courses. We're anticipating approximately 80 programs to be on campus with at least one course on campus. So students will still be learning online. Services will still be offered online, but a hybrid. So there will be students on campus as well as services on campus.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Leanne? Because as much as everybody, we focus, because we do have more Brock students that live in Thorold, but there are Niagara College students living in Thorold as well, especially since we're right in the middle of both campuses. So I think the number's a lot higher than most people realize. So, and they're a very important part of this committee. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee as a whole understands that. So any questions? Okay, so before I move on to our delegations, I'm just going to get an update from some of our community partners, and I'll start with Catherine. If you want to give us an update from waste management at the region, and I know you talked about an educational component, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief in my comments. So obviously, this will be the first year for most students coming into the neighborhood to experience the every other week garbage collection. This is not obviously the first fall that we've implemented, but we know with last year and COVID, there wasn't a lot of students living in off-campus housing. So we plan to have a presence in the neighborhood throughout the week, particularly in that first month. And obviously on a continuous basis. We're in all off-campus student housing areas throughout the region on a weekly basis. We do leave reminders. We try to get in touch with the tenants or landlords and try to have any issues resolved as soon as possible. So as I said, we will have resources in those areas. We are planning our annual mail out to both tenants, so the students of the homes, as well as the property owners. So those will be going out in the next week or so. We found that those letters, we've been doing this for about 10 years now. We find those letters very effective in getting the message out to both the landlords and the tenants. And then just more recently, or this week, I should say, following a conversation I had with the mayor a couple of weeks ago with some recent issues in that Juniberry area, we will have some staff out this week with some letters in hand to address some of those properties where we've seen repeat incidences or issues with garbage remaining at the curb. So as I said, we'll be in that area this week, just trying to get a hold of the tenants, as well as we have a letter going out to those specific addresses, or to the landlords of those specific addresses, making them aware of their responsibility under our bylaw as well. So that's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I think there's a question for you from Stephanie. Go ahead.
Sorry, my question actually isn't for her, but Terrence is representing our little community on a topic, and he has to leave for another meeting at 11. So I'm wondering if it's possible if he can talk about our concerns about the traffic and speeding.
Yes, because our community, Dan's here. So yeah, go ahead, Terrence. Bring those issues up. We have Dan here from the NRP, as those issues are related to traffic enforcement. So other than traffic calming, which we will look at as a city, but go ahead. Terrence, are you there?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If Linda could present our topic in general, and I can chime in on the different aspects of speeding, et cetera. We have quite a list of items we'd like to bring to your attention and to all members here. If possible, if Linda could speak now, that'd be appreciated.
So can I just pipe in for a second? So I do only have 2 registered speakers. I have Stephanie and Elliot Hamilton and Steve and Penny Zorbas. Or Zorbas, my apologies if it was.
I think as a community, we got together as per recommendation to have a pre-meeting. And as a group with Stephanie Elliott there, we had Linda Burek as the focal person for this meeting today.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll ask the committee. I have to waive the rules because you're not on the agenda. So are there any opposition to them speaking at this time? All those in favor of hearing this presentation? Anyone opposed? Okay, it's carried. So now you're okay. Because if you're not on the agenda, I have to get the permission of the group that's just procedure, okay? It's not that we don't want to listen to you, because we do. Okay, go ahead, Linda.
It's just under speeding. I mean, it's in general. At the end is top 5.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just had to jump ahead to
speeding
to our top 5 issues. And speeding, in our neighborhood is a concern. We have over 60 young children in a very small area, which these homes back onto Richmond, they front onto Winterberry, Hawthorne, and Ironwood Court. There's a significant amount of speeding in the area, and we have a number of requests that we'd like to see implemented in order to help with this situation. Terrence, I think you wanted to speak to this now.
If on the topic of speeding, I could mention that topic if you like, Linda.
Yep.
Yes, as you all know, you've seen in the news, there was a young boy, Nick, struck at the intersection of Winterberry and Richmond a few weeks ago. That's been in the media. That is typical of what's been going on in this area. There is continual speeding on Richmond, up and over the hill of Highway 58, all hours of the day and night. There is no exception on the hours. It is continual throughout the night. As also on Winterberry, there is excess speeding there, and along Hawthorne as well. That has been experienced by all the people living in the area. There have been near accidents. Again, as I mentioned, Nick, we would ask for your recommendations on this. We would like to put forward a few, one of them being that I was told by city planning last year that phase 7 final paving of Winterberry would be done by May 2021, which has not happened. And upon that road, there were to be 2 speed bumps. So putting in finishing the paving would be great. Putting in 2 speed bumps as recommended along with that paving would be great. And if it cannot be done now, to put in temporary speed bumps along Winterberry and along Hawthorne. And as a long-term recommendation, I was also told by city planning last year that they were looking into photo radar and that would be approved in 2022. We would like to recommend here that cameras are installed specifically along Richmond and Winterberry if possible. I believe you'd get quite a tax revenue from that. Linda?
I just want to chime in on photo radar so I can give you an update from a regional perspective. There's a pilot project ongoing right now, and the project is limited to school zones. I've been promoting and pushing to get the school zone between Richmond Street School and A.T. Clancy or Monsignor Clancy included into that photo radar zone. It didn't make the first group, but it's on the radar for the second installation. But photo radar at this time is going to be limited to school zones with a longer term perspective to expand that. So just so you know where the region's at from the perspective of photo radar. That's all.
Mr. Mayor. Then in the meantime, especially with the happening with the young boy at Richmond and Winterberry, we need a greater police presence monitoring the areas. And again, all hours of the day and night.
So Dan, you've taken note of that from our NRP perspective, and from our perspective, Paul, can we make sure that we bring those issues to the attention of our public works and engineering group, and probably do a safety study in that area and act on some of these initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll speak with them.
Thank you.
There are also additional considerations for slowing down the traffic that I've seen in other communities where they have barriers in the middle of the road, or even just posts with red that slow down the traffic. I've seen it in school zones and other zones where it's necessary to slow down traffic. That might be something else you'd want to consider in view of not being able to have the photo radar immediately.
Well, there's one other thing we can look at that, and that is to do a pilot project of lowering the speed limit to 40 in those areas.
Ah, yes. I thought of that in the middle of the night.
That's something that we can look at as a community. I know that we've talked about it, but we haven't done anything in that. I know some communities are starting to implement pilot projects, just bringing that up as another possibility. You know.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for that topic. Linda, other topics?
Am I continuing with my presentation then?
Well, we were just getting Terrence done because he has to go. So.
Right. So Sorry, Terrence. I think at this point they're going back to the original agenda.
So we're going to go back now. Thanks, Terrence, and I appreciate you coming and bringing those issues up.
Thank you.
It's all about everybody working together, and that's an important aspect in all this. Okay, I'm going to go back to update on community partners. We heard from Catherine. I wanted to hear an update from Dan on the NRP. If you could give us an update from your end, and I think the group would be interested in hearing that now. So,
hello, everybody. Listening to the concerns that we've had in the Winterberry area, and obviously with the school year starting, we'll definitely make requests for traffic unit to be in that area, and also with our Thorold officers, we'll make sure that they're aware and that we're going to make sure that enforcement is taking place in that area and that we have higher visibility. We'll also, there are a lot of paid duties that Brock University has requested from our service for assistance with that. And obviously we're going to work collectively with both Brock and with Thorold bylaw as well, and address the issues as they come about. And that hopefully will be proactive in the sense that we'll have police presence. Sometimes these things happen on the weekend, and obviously we're going to be the ones that are called and attending that. But we may request some assistance from bylaw or Brock after the fact, just to assist to identify people or to get a better presence in that area and to be able to make sure that we're handling those issues as they come about efficiently. So we're going to work with everybody, and obviously we'll have everybody in that area, and we know that things are probably going to be most likely before pre-COVID, that we're going to be having a lot of people and kids back in the neighborhoods and in the streets and at Brock University. So
thank you, Dan. That one point that Dan mentioned, which is important for all our partners, is that if they initiate something, and that follow-up visits have always been very important from our bylaw and from the necessary, whether it be Niagara College or Brock University. Those follow-up visits carry a lot of weight, and so I think that's an important aspect that you brought up. Is there any questions for Dan? I see Stephanie. Go ahead.
Dan, what would be your suggestions for us as community members on what steps we should do when we're seeing a lot of this speeding and not following the traffic signs, like not stopping and stuff like that? What steps should we do?
Just like whatever community problems come up, just give us a call, report them. We'll have an officer attend. And if we don't have somebody, and obviously there are a lot of calls that they wouldn't be on a priority basis, where speeding would be one of the last calls, unfortunately, in a night that would get that priority if we had an assault or, you know, a robbery or any of those types of things happening. During the summer, our resources are really maxed. And so we do have some time delay in getting to some of these lower priority calls. But as long as you give us a call, we will contact you at some point during the night or the next day. We'll take in those concerns, and then we can make some adjustments, have some more police presence, request traffic, do the things that we can do to help that, but we need to be aware of that. So we would request that you give us a call and let us know what you're seeing, and then that way we can address them more effectively, quicker as they're happening. So that would be, I wanted to mention as well, we have a loud and clear program that's gone on throughout the summer, which is the loud noises and mufflers that was brought up at the last committee meeting. Now we do have traffic enforcement for that, and it has come down considerably, but there are still some offenders within the community. If you see that, then give us a call, and then we have an idea of where they're living or where they're traveling through, so then we may be able to enforce that at some point. So the key is just communication. We can't take care of the problem unless we're aware of it. So if you can just please give us a call, report those incidents to us, or attend the bylaw and as well let them know. And then we work together and collectively. And if bylaw is getting a lot of complaints about a certain area, I expect they would be calling us as well. And then that we can put a concerted effort towards that.
Thank you, Dan. And I think it's important what Dan said is that you call. And even if they can't respond right away, these calls are documented. And it's important to have a paper trail and documentation. And then that goes the same for our bylaw department. Paul, you can, I'm going to go to you next, but I just had Linda with her hand up, and then you might want to expand on it. Go ahead.
Two questions I have regarding this. If we, as part of a community, see a particular vehicle speeding, obviously we call you, but you're not going to get here in time to address that particular situation. Should we be recording license plate numbers? Also, the second part is there a mechanism to monitor the numbers of cars that are on these streets and the speeds that they are traveling at? I'm not aware.
Dan, go ahead if you want to answer the question regarding the license plates.
So in regards to the license plates, yeah, we would say take down the license plate. Then we would enter into an investigation. Now we'd be able to identify the vehicle and who owns the vehicle, but we may not always have the operator of that vehicle as the owner. So at least we would enter an investigation and hopefully be able to identify who is actually operating the vehicle at that time. And then if we haven't witnessed it ourselves, at least we can talk to them. They can provide warnings. We can, in certain circumstances, use you as a witness, but there's a lot of hurdles and thresholds kind of for court that we don't want to introduce that unless we typically see it ourselves. But depending how big the problem is, we can do that. So
can we record it with our personal phones?
Yeah, you can record it with your personal phones. Even if you see it, you can record it, write it down. And then we can have a chat with the owner of the vehicle. And a lot of times that happens, that kind of puts, especially if it's a young person driving their parents' car, now the parents are aware of the driving habits, and obviously they address that.
Excellent.
Okay. And as far as the safety study, traffic safety studies are done by our municipality or the region, depending if it's a city road or a regional road. Okay. Okay. Now, Paul, I'm going to turn over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. So in terms of a quick update from City of Thorold's bylaw enforcement, we are fully staffed. We had one officer leave us recently, but we've recently retained a new officer. So we do have full staff complement now. And the other item, council about 2 weeks ago approved the extension of a contract. So we do have a contract bylaw officer till the end of the year. So now we have, we've got 5 staff members. They do work Saturdays on the weekends. And in this area, we're, obviously we're aware of the issues that are ongoing, the parties, the noise, the garbage, and that. The plan for this year is to be, like the police, a little bit more proactive and be a little bit more present in the area. Typically, the first response with complaints is an education. So make people aware of what the bylaws are, explain, what they can and can't do and things like that. We need to move from education into enforcement sooner. And so that's the approach that we're going to be taking is when we get these calls and complaints, go out, provide that education, but we'll be moving to giving tickets out a lot quicker. Usually there's a little bit more leeway between the first and second offense, but and then the last thing that we really want to look at is if there's a third offense, can we actually take away the landowner's residential rental license so that the property could no longer be used as a rental? So that's something we've got to look into. And Jason, who is the, I'm just sitting in for Jason, that's something he's looking into. So, we're going to be a little bit more proactive out there. The other item, I think the last item that I just want to quickly touch on, and I'm a planner, so from a land use planning perspective, we've implemented a pilot project for residential fencing. Normally in a subdivision, you leave fencing up to the property owners. But in this last phase of approvals, the townhouses were requiring that fencing go up between the units, so down their sides and across their backs, so that you're not seeing these, one large backyard across, 6 or 8 townhouse units. So hopefully trying to address the issue of big parties in those backyards. So I think that's really it from a bylaw enforcement update.
I just want to add one other thing, which Paul said, that another thing we're looking at is we haven't implemented, but we're looking at is escalating the fines for repeat offenders. So it'll be an escalating scale. That's something we're looking at. It hasn't been implemented, and it's something that we're looking at. The other thing regarding the fencing, that's on phase 8. That's that new circle they're putting in at the end of Winterberry. Unfortunately, that doesn't cover the existing areas. So, but it is an area. It is a situation where there's no doubt fencing is a big issue, because if we had fencing across all those areas, I'm not saying there wouldn't be parties, but it's not conducive to having the big parties when you close off that area. So I have Catherine, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul, you mentioned something about that sort of tweaked my interest about, if there's repeat offenses and the town looking at removing the license for that property from the owner. So we here at the region have a number of properties where we're continually going to because of waste collection issues and garbage sitting at the curb for a number of days. So I guess moving forward, if that's something you're looking at, there'll have to be some dialogue with us and your city staff as well. Because if we have these continuous issues where we're spending a lot of staff resources on, maybe it's something that we can leverage on your end with the property owner to get the situation cleaned up.
I think that's an area where we need to have dialogue and between the bylaw at the region and the city bylaw. And not only that, I think all our areas, and that's why we hold the subcommittee meetings, and we will be holding them coming up, is that it increases that dialogue between the groups, and we can close the loop on some of these issues. So, go ahead, Stephanie.
You're on mute, Stephanie.
I have a question about the fencing that you were talking about, Paul. So I'm currently seeing end posts going up on a bunch of the properties on Hawthorne and Juneberry and Winterberry. So it looks like they're putting in some fencing, but it just looks like it's end caps and it's not going to be per unit. So I'm wondering if we can get information on what's going on with that, or if that's just like, if that's been mandated by the city for it to go up, or if people are personally doing it, because right now it just looks like it's going to be barricaded and blocked off, but not actually separated from our perspective.
Okay, yeah, I can look into that, and we can let you know which areas are exactly mandated by the city. It's this latest phase that was just approved, so I'm not sure if they are at that point yet for putting up fences, but we can look into it.
Paul, I can tell you this because I asked that question. Jason's on that. They're doing an investigation on that. That's not that's outside of the new area where the pilot is. So Jason, our chief building official, is on top of that issue. I haven't talked to him. He's been had holidays, so I don't know any resolution, but it's on our radar. I can tell you that. Okay. It's Steve or Penny. I don't know whose hand that is, but
yeah. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Paul, thanks for the update. Just to let everybody know, I am the city manager for the city of Welland. We're proud to live in Thorold. I fully support actually in requesting consideration of a zero tolerance policy on property standards. In my experience, I've been in municipal administration for 40 years. The only way we can successfully change behaviors is by penalizing those who don't adhere to what I call bylaws. So my question is, does the city track revenues that you earn from fraction number 1 and fraction number 2? Because what I'm saying, I think you can put together, we can put together a business plan to support a more aggressive zero tolerance approach on hiring more bylaw enforcement officers, and actually, rather than being complaint driven, enforcing it. And you will find quickly that when they start getting $1,000 fines and they're paid, that the cost of the municipality, it becomes a profit center.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure we track those fines. We are going to be bringing a report forward later in the year, before the end of the year, to council that looks at what the bylaw enforcement team could look like going forward if we need to go to a 24/7 model. So what that would look like, how many officers and staffing and cost to bring that forward.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd be more than happy to appear as a delegation for that. I'd like to work with this committee in terms of consideration of a zero tolerance policy. We want to live in harmony with all the landlords who have student rentals, but there is a segment of the neighborhood that actually live here, and I look forward to working with the committee.
Yes, and Jason, I've given you his information. He'll be the gentleman, our chief building official, that will be working on that staff report under Paul's leadership, okay? I got Councillor Sentence with his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I was going to comment before I heard that report was coming. I'm excited about that report now. I said all along you can have enforcement till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's generally not when everything happens. So I would be all in favor of putting someone at least 4 to 12. And I know if things got hairy, you call the NRP. I'm not asking them to go in and break up parties, but if you see a presence, you're less likely to, do things. So 24/7, love it. But at least a 4 to 12 person, even this contract guy during this, frosh week or frosh month, to be out there 4 to 12, cruising around the neighborhoods would be fantastic. So if you could pass that on to Jason or think about that a little bit, I think that would be crucial to stopping things before they start. Thank you.
Okay, Idolo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Paul Moore. Paul, when you're talking about repeat offenders, can you elaborate? Like, were you speaking about the garbage, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So, we got a complaint that, somebody's garbage was, on the road or whatever. If, we would go out and speak to them about that and explain the bylaws for the property maintenance and whatnot. And then, the following week it happened again. That's when we would issue that ticket to that repeat offender.
But I will say this, Idolo, it's not limited to garbage. It's clean yards, it's noise, it's parties, it's all of the above. Okay, it's not limited to garbage at the curb.
No, I totally understand. But my question is, if once you've rented the house, okay, under the RTA, okay, regardless of the license, okay, the landlord only has, okay, certain rights. So for example, if a tenant wants to keep continuously piling up their garbage, under the RTA, the landlord has zero control. They can basically make attempts to bring them in front of the RTA, but it's the ticket, I believe, should go to the tenant because the tenant has the occupants of the house. It shouldn't be the landlord that's being penalized for something that somebody else is doing.
Okay, that's, we can look into that, but my understanding is under the Municipal Act, the ticket goes to the property owner. So again, we've got a lot to explore with this. It's just an idea at this point, but we've got to look into it, and there's lots of legal ramifications, obviously, that we need to explore.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on here because we got a lot still left to do here. I want to hear from both student unions. So I'll start off with Kaylee. Do you want to speak on behalf of BUSU?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Apologies, I joined a bit late. I think I had the wrong link. But I didn't get to introduce myself. I'm here on behalf of Robert Hilson, our general manager, and I work in kind of the governance and advocacy side of BUSU, but I can give a little bit of an update on what we're working on, which is primary.
Kaylee, I just want, for people that don't know, BUSU is the Brock, the Students Union, Brock University Students Union. Okay.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Work very closely with Brad's team at Brock. So we're getting ready to put together all the programming for September. And as Brad already mentioned, instead of having this, big, exciting week that is packed with large events, we're planning smaller events that are going to happen throughout the month of September so that we can accommodate smaller groups of students and make sure that all the students coming in have an opportunity to participate. The first week of programming is up. I'll share it in the chat in case anyone wants to see what we are planning. I will add the one thing, it was kind of mentioned earlier about introducing students to the downtown area in St. Catharines. We actually do have an event on September 10th that we're running in conjunction with International Student Services to encourage students to kind of go downtown and visit some of the businesses down there. And it's being framed as a scavenger hunt. I'm not the event planner, so I don't have all the details on it, but hopefully we'll get some students going downtown there. And then just our other focus right now is putting out a lot of material to encourage students to get vaccinated before they get back on campus. So Brock's been running a campaign on that. We've been running kind of one in conjunction as well too, trying to get a lot of our student leaders' faces on that. They're kind of seen as leaders on campus, so getting them to share that message. But yeah, I'm happy to take any questions on what we're working on, and I'm always open to collaborate wherever we can.
Well, the one thing, Kaylee, that's important is BUSU really has to step up to the plate and stress the importance of the students being good community neighbors and partners. And I think that's the biggest thing you can do to help this group. And really stress that, because there's so much good that the students do in our community and work with a lot of our groups in the city. And I can't tell you enough about the good, but sometimes that message isn't getting out because of student issues in residential neighborhoods that really need our focus, and you can really help in that area. So that would be my 2 cents worth on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Go ahead, Stephanie. I see your hand up. If you had a question for
no, it was more of a comment, something that I'd like to maybe have put forward to be implemented on the university side or Niagara College side. So when I had a conversation with Student Life from Brock, they told me that they have a student code of conduct, but that only applies to them while they're on the campus. So when they're out in the community, they're no longer governed by the student code of conduct. I would like there to be something implemented for all students across Brock and Niagara College that they have to sign and agree to, and it becomes a Student Community Standards Act that all of them are held to. And there would be a zero tolerance after their first offense. Because like I have videos of what they're doing behind my house, and it's pretty infuriating that they can just go ahead and behave in such a fashion that's so disrespectful to our community, and also make threats against me as well. So like they should be held accountable. There should be an actual standard that they have to sign in order to be a student who lives in the community that lives amongst other families.
Thank you, Elliot. Brad, you want to chime in on that? Because Brad's done a lot of work on the code of conduct.
Yeah, sure. Mr. I appreciate the comment. I think you were talking to one of my staff members, Tanya Bradley. Again, we do have a code of conduct, and there are certainly circumstances where it can be extended to issues occurring beyond the campus. What's important to note, though, is that our code of conduct can't replace municipal, provincial, or federal law. And so, again, many of the concerns that we talk about around this circle are related to infractions or negative activity that already has bylaws or provincial laws that could be implemented or that when implemented are designed to address that concern. And so that's why we work very closely with our partners, whether it be the NRP through the special officers that we've hired or with bylaw in the working group meetings that Terry referred to earlier, to ensure that those processes are working as they should be to address the concerns as they're occurring in the local neighborhoods. Now, that said, as I mentioned in my earlier comments, our neighborhood relations protocol is designed to intersect with those. And so if we see individual instances where there's an ability to make a connection between the campus experience and what's occurred off campus, we will address those on a case-by-case basis. And when there are opportunities to engage in those neighborhood relations activities to either educate students or to gather additional information so that we can follow up as appropriate, we will do so. But again, just to reframe, the student code of conduct is a subsequent step, not the initial step. Those initial interactions are rightfully placed in the roles of bylaw and police enforcement officers, where they have both the jurisdiction and ability to follow through.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move because this are questions for Busu right now. So I don't want to get off track and then we're not going to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So is there any questions for Kaylee? Okay, I'm going to move on to Sam from Niagara College to speak on behalf of their student union. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually wonder if I can pass the floor to Steve Kosh to speak on behalf of NCSAC today.
Absolutely, Steve. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate everybody being here, all your concerns and questions. In terms of NCSAC, what I'd like to speak to today, or what we'd like to speak to today, are two things. One being our universal bus pass. So we'll start with that. And then also our O-Week programming. So just so everybody knows, although Brock has continued the UPass program, Niagara College and the NCSAC are no longer part of the Universal Bus Pass for the region. So it's something we're carefully monitoring in future and hope to bring back. One thing to note is it was actually discontinued back in March of 2020, so just during the pandemic. We were yet to reach an agreement for September of 2020. And in doing so with the pandemic and all the restrictions surrounding transit, I thought it best to at that point suspend the UPass. So in order to bring the UPass back for our side, it will have been suspended 2 full years after this academic season. In order to bring it back, we do need to go to referendum. So we'll be working closely with transit partners.
Sam, we lost him.
We did indeed. All right, so I suppose it's passed back to me. So he was just going to go, I think, into the details that we have to go to referendum to bring back our UPass. So if you're getting any questions from transit or anything like this, we are in communications with the transit system, but we are not bringing back the bus pass this year. And the only other, I'll say, small thing of note is that we are doing orientation completely virtual. And actually that keeps it kind of short because I think we all kind of know what that entails for us. Thank you.
Any questions to Sam regarding that? Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on now to delegations, and Stephanie and Elliot Hamilton, you're up. So if you want to present now, and then I'm going to go to Steve and Penny Zarbis after that. Okay.
Thank you. Linda's going to lead for us. She has all of our notes on behalf of a bunch of the community members.
Okay, go ahead.
As requested, we met as a community in our particular area of Ironwood, Hawthorne, Winterberry, and Richmond regarding several issues. The first is under the area of unlawful behavior. I'd like to start by saying I am a resident here, and I'm a Brock graduate. My husband's a Brock graduate. He works at Brock University. We enjoy students. We just don't enjoy the unlawful behavior that we see demonstrated here. The first is the drugged and disorderly conduct. Okay, they threaten and intimidate the neighbors with threats of violence, including rape. There are fights, obvious drug dealings. We see students that during COVID were not following the COVID rules. In our area, there's been stabbings, use of firearms, guns, yelling, reckless driving, and that's already been addressed. Drinking in open and public areas. Okay, so that's one of our first ones. And this is all under the umbrella of safety in our community neighborhood.
So Linda, I just want to make one point known, and I think you're aware of this. They're not just students, okay? So
absolutely.
Let's not make, that needs to be well documented that this issue is students, but it's not limited to students, okay?
Oh, right. Thank you for mentioning that.
We need to be fair when we say that, that's all.
Yes, because some of these people are from outside of our area and bringing these things into our area, and yet we're still witnesses to them. And in addition, there are other families who are in rental units and are guilty of some of the same things. So I don't want to label the Brock students. We love the Brock students. My husband works with the students. We have students come by our house all the time. They walk our dog. We're very friendly. So yes, I did want to point that out. Thank you. The next unlawful act is theft. Planters, trees have been stolen, stairs have been ripped off units and used for fires on their lawns. They've stolen street signs, no exit signs. So this kind of behavior is continuing. And addition under unlawful behavior is the vandalism. Tire slashing. The bell boxes in this area have been tipped over and the covers taken or damaged. Recently, the postal boxes were damaged and tipped over. There's sexual explicit graffiti on private property and garden destruction. Our next area in this safety realm is the bylaw enforcements or the infractions against our city bylaws. And that we've already addressed, the loud late night music, the turn down time is 11 o'clock. I personally don't think 12 o'clock is the end time for that additional supervision. I think it needs to go on to 4 or 5 in the morning. And those, of course, are just during the peak times, the weekends, the long weekends, the frosh week, you know, Halloween, those kind of things. Lack of lawn and weed maintenance, and that goes to the owners of the properties, not necessarily the renters. The garbage, and that has been discussed, but our concerns with garbage is it's left all over lawns, it's in the boulevards, it's all around the forest. And I must mention that since I've moved in, I have seen several times the city come by and collect all the garbage. My first year here, my husband and I collected all the garbage. My husband continues to clean up in between the townhouses every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. He does that just because that's the kind of person he is. Next, our concern under the garbage is the attraction of the animals, the pests, the rodents, the rats, the raccoons, the insects, all of that stuff with garbage left unattended. So that goes back to our spokesperson here who is hearing of this and maybe can direct it. Broken glass on the streets and sidewalks. I have neighbors who can't walk their dogs. I have children who can't play. I have senior neighbors who are seen on a Sunday morning sweeping up all the broken glass on the sidewalk in front of our home. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. Fire safety, the open fires. We're also concerned, and this may not be an issue, but housing capacities. How many residents are living in these rental units? And is there legal fire separation in these units for multiple people? I have noticed, and I went on a website today of a company that owns multiple units in this area, and they list units as executive properties with 6 bedrooms. I'm not sure executive properties necessarily would have 6 bedrooms. Is this something that needs to be looked into? Because they are typically being rented then by young adults. our concern here with all of this is the lack of law and bylaw enforcement. And you've addressed that about how you're going to potentially give a warning, hand out a fine, escalate the fines, bring in responsibility on the part of the unit owners because they are renting to these people who are causing a disturbance to our well-being and our neighborhood. Excuse me. And keep in mind, all of these issues are happening in front of young children. The drug deals, the open drinking on city corners, walking down the streets. It's an ongoing issue. And this is what happens when you live in an area with a lot of student renters or young people. And I thank all the stakeholders who are here today, the City of Thorold, the Police Department, Brock University, Niagara College. There's a couple, and I'm not sure if this actual person or business is represented, but I think the people that own the multiple units in this area should be in on these meetings as well, so that they are aware that these renters are contributing to the detriment of our neighborhood. And I also feel that Mountain View Homes needs to keep us advised of what their future plans are. Now they're putting the fencing in the new section that is being built, and that will do well to hopefully reduce some of these concerns. However, I think we need to be aware, city planners, Mountain View Homes, these investment companies who buy up multiple units, that what you've basically done is put a student residence in a residential area. And so because of that, we would like the same opportunities that students have in a residence. I mean, residents have their Brock University police. They have people living in their residence units who supervise these students. They have people who will not allow them to continue to crank up amplifiers at 4 in the morning. This would not be allowed if these pockets were actually on Brock property. And so these units have been plunked into an area. We have student residences in our community. It's not on Brock property. So your student code of conduct needs to be enforced in these areas as well. And in addition, if it's happening in this area, there needs to be communication. And I know it's been said at this meeting, it's bylaw officers, Niagara Regional Police, who are responsible for unlawful behavior, et cetera, off Brock property. This needs all to be communicated back to Brock University. They need to know that their students are behaving in this way and are receiving fines, because there is an escalating consequence for students who continue to demonstrate these types of unlawful behavior. We do have some solutions, and we're happy to admit that several of them have been spoken about today because you've had your pre-meeting. I'm going to skip through this. You've addressed many of these. Station the police in the area during peak party times. I think you're already on that. Also, there's a lack of available officers late at night. I know that there's been calls and they said, oh, they couldn't get an officer out for an hour or whatever. Well, sometimes that need is immediate. And is there any concern for using your community police officers so that they're a presence, but don't have to be a Niagara Regional Police officer? I believe there are some people who work for the police department in that capacity at other community events. And that could be one resource that's used to assist in this problem. In terms of Brock University, again, and you mentioned that today, but to have your Brock security, and we saw them here in the spring, but we have not seen them here much this summer. And this summer is when all of this has escalated. And so we would like to see your policies reinforced as well, and students fined. and being held accountable to the student code of conduct. Okay, bylaw enforcement, responding to calls promptly and enforce the law by ticketing. And you've addressed that too, and I understand that's on your docket. Let's see. Oh, the door-to-door canvassing you've also mentioned, so thank you for that. We've mentioned in terms of the city, the construction speed bumps, three-way stops at Hawthorne. We'd like children playing signs too, because you won't believe the number of students in this area. It's incredible. And thank God nothing has happened to anyone yet, but there have been some near misses. So I think awareness needs to be raised for sure. So in a nutshell, those are our top issues. One is, well, I don't want to mention this name, but I know that there are companies who own multiple units, and I think they should be sitting at this table as well as Mountain View Homes. So they're aware. And I don't know in terms of city planning, what can be done in terms of putting in these townhouses, great. Is there any way they can be utilized in a different way or enforced to be utilized in a different way? If I've left anything out, I would encourage Elliot and Stephanie to step in, but I think that is basically our concerns. And thank you for addressing this and being here to support us, all the different agencies.
And I thank you for presenting. And the two items I want to speak to quickly is fires. There's no fire policy in the city of Thorold. Okay, there are no fires allowed. Okay, you can cook with a barbecue and that, but so if there's open fires, then you need to call 911 and they'll dispatch Thorold Fire and Emergency Services, who will respond to the call. And our fire department looks after fire calls. And okay, so that's information for you. Zero tolerance on that. Okay. Secondly, if it's a safety issue and you feel that it's a safety issue, you call 911, the police will respond right away. If it's a call like Dan, and I'll let you expand, if it's a call that can wait, they'll dispatch them as a triage. But if it's a safety issue and your safety's at risk, that's a 911 call. You don't wait. Am I right, Dan? Do you want to expand on that if I stepped out of line, or is that correct?
No, obviously, if it is a safety issue, if you're, I have made note of it that if you're being threatened, obviously that's a safety issue. If they're confrontational, we should be called to that and we should be attending that. For sure. And a lot of this really comes down to as communication from the neighborhood, and to give us a call and to make us aware of everything that's going on. And I understand how frustrating it is, but I can echo this. Unfortunately, the things that you're experiencing in that area, yes, we have a heightened amount of students, but when you look across St. Catharines as well, we have many of the same issues. And so it's not only your area, although you are experiencing that, you may think that, but when you look at, drinking, you look at drugs, it plagues the cities that we're in, unfortunately. And so a lot of those issues are not just issues that you're experiencing in your area. And it's very difficult for police to enforce. We just don't have the resources as much as we'd like. Obviously, we don't want you to wait an hour or 2 hours before an officer can attend. We want to be able to attend readily and be able to deal with a lot of these issues. Unfortunately, with resources and the amount of issues that we have to deal with, there may not be that immediate response. And it's not that we don't want to be there, it's just unfortunate at that time. But what I would say is that you have to be good witnesses, right? If you get a plate, if you've identified this person or you know who that person's with, all these things are information that we can at least follow up, that when officers are in that area, that you finally identify some of these kids eventually. That becomes our biggest issue, is identity. Who are living in these rental units, because they don't have to identify themselves when we go to the door. So these are all things that are in place that It may take some time, and I just say that so that you understand. It's not that we don't want to attend. It's not that we don't want to be there. It's that we're going to have some struggles for identity at times. We're not there. If it's not been witnessed, like glass broken on a sidewalk, we need to see who's doing it or who's committing this mischief, correct? So
For sure.
there are some societal issues that are difficult. Drugs is a big issue. You know, the kids drinking and walking, that's not only students, that could be high school students, that could be anyone in the community, especially in the summer. So, but we don't know about these unless we are called, and then we can start putting some enforcement to that. And so we would always encourage you to call us, let us know what's going on, and then we can do our best to adhere to it or at least address it. And it may not happen overnight. It may be a month. It may be, a couple months. But as long as we keep getting officers in that area, that will assist.
Thank you.
We can identify some of these peak times as well, which is important.
And Mr. Mayor, can I add to a point you brought up earlier? It's not only students. It's rental. It could be even homeowners. But we also have really good students in this area who hear parties till 4 or 5 in the morning and have to get up and go to work at 8, who are trying to study for finals and can't get any sleep. So in terms of Brock University, it's affecting your students' quality of life as well.
Okay, before I move on to Elliot, the one other point I want to raise is as a community, we are really moving and pushing for more purpose-built student housing. And just so you're aware, we see that as one big way of taking pressure off residential area. I can tell you the city has improved, a city has approved 6 units that are going to be built on Schmoen Parkway. They're started construction. They're going to put 3 up, and then they're going to do the next 3. That is going to be over 1,000 beds when it's complete.
Excellent. Yeah.
So just to let you know that we are promoting purpose-built student housing, and we because we understand the issues. I'm going to go to Elliot and then Brad, but we got to keep moving here because I got another meeting at noon that I got to go on. So go ahead, Elliot.
Okay, so I'd just like to talk a little bit about, I won't take too much time, some of the experiences that I've had living here, because I've been one of the main residents who has had interactions with the parties, because I have a row of townhouses directly behind my house, so I hear it quite loud in my house. About a year ago, it's when it really became a problem, but I would be able to have regular communication with the students. I'd go back there. I'd be like, hey, you guys, you're being a bit loud. Can you turn it down? And it seemed to be a respectful thing. All of a sudden this year, the respect is completely gone. So I can't actually go back there and ask them to turn the music down anymore because it's turning into a confrontation between me and them. And to the officer there, I'd like to say that I have been threatened. They've also told me they're going to jump me and rape my wife. I have video footage. We've called in and made a police report about it. The officer called me. He said that, you know, they're just understaffed and can't come. He said that the chances of being able to identify these students is very low, so he's not going to come up. So
that they're outnumbered.
Yeah, that they're outnumbered as well. The police have been called, I don't even know how many times, weekends in a row, months. I'd say at least 6 to 8 weeks.
June. Since June, it's been consistent.
Every single weekend, and it's going from anywhere from midnight till 3, 4 in the morning. So we're left alone with these students with no help.
Keeping our babies up.
Yeah, and we're not the only home that's feeling the effects of it. Pretty much anybody who lives on my street that has the townhouses backing onto them are all affected, and we communicate to each other through the middle of the night. So I have lots of video footage for everybody to see. Oh, and by the way, it's hundreds of students behind my house congregating, having parties. They basically have a big giant street party and everybody's invited except for the family members. So I really need a firm, strong, zero tolerance policy implemented because they're wrecking the neighborhood. I feel like I'm being bullied out of my house. And in fact, we were just looking at moving And the only reason why we're not is we're just having problems finding a house large enough to house our 6 children. And
And honestly, we're on Ironwood, and the people on the homeowners on Ironwood and Hawthorne are the best community I've ever lived in. The best community. But behind me, where all the student housing is the worst community I've ever lived in. I can't believe the lack of respect in this area and the intimidation that we all feel. I get neighbors from White Ash and Foxgrove texting me in the middle of the night, can you hear that party? They're sending me videos from their bedrooms from 3 blocks over, and you can hear the parties. Like the volume, and it doesn't start usually until about 11:30 at night. So having bylaw extended from 4 to 12 does nothing for us. It does absolutely nothing for us. We need help from 11 o'clock at night till honestly, even up till 6 in the morning. Neighbors are still calling the police, waiting for them to come. There was an incident just this past Saturday night where multiple neighbors were calling at 11 o'clock because the party had been going all day, but we needed it shut down. An hour and a half later, there was still nobody here. At 12:30, I'm like, still calling the after hours number. Nobody's answering now at this point. They took down a stop sign from somewhere and they were like kicking it and hitting it and fighting and pretending it was a punching bag. And then the cops eventually came when I had called 911 because I was concerned on where the stop sign had been removed from. So I was really worried about it being a safety issue. I watched the police officers talk to them, walk away, go to another area, leave them with the stop sign, come back and talk to them, left the stop sign, and they all left. I came home from work yesterday at 11:30 at night. I photographed a wedding and I noticed that there's a temporary stop sign up at Hawthorne and Winterberry. So that must have been the sign that was removed, but there was no enforcement. This is the biggest issue that I'm finding on top of behaviors and intimidation and lack of respect is lack of enforcement.
anyway, you guys obviously know that this neighborhood is a problem. Neighbors are feeling bullied by the students. And then I would also like to address how the students all got back there. Right now, there's a rental company who is fully furnishing these units, making it student ready to just show up and move in.
TVs, everything.
Yeah, so it's like, there is somebody right now, I'll tell you the name if somebody wants to message me for it. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on here, but it's no big deal. They're actively recruiting students to come live in our neighborhood. Like, this has to stop. It's crazy. Linda hit it right on the head. We have a student residence living directly behind us. So anyway, that's it for me. Like, I can give you guys video footage of what's happening of the parties. We record it on a regular basis. I even got one student telling the mayor to go F himself. So like, they're so disrespectful to me that I can't actually talk to them anymore.
I'm concerned, like I have to hold him back from going back there. Because I'm concerned, not anymore,
Okay.
but there was a while there, right?
Okay, 2 things here, and we've heard you loud and clear, and I fully agree with what you're saying. 2 things: if there's a safety issue, 911. Secondly, if there's any information, Dan, that you could utilize, can you work together? And because this issue can't continue like this, we need to really step up. And I'm talking, Paul, on behalf of our bylaw too. As what we've heard is there is no room for education. It's time for enforcement. These people have to realize that you're living in a residential community, and the level of respect and the way we expect people to work or to treat one another is it's got to be maintained. And so we need to step up to the plate from our end. And Brad, do you want to expand on that? Because this is very troubling for me.
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Mr. Hamilton, Ms. Hamilton, those concerns are particularly troublesome. I share your belief that enforcement at this point is the next step. I don't know that, some of those acts you're describing are necessary for education. I think that's well known. Again, looking to our community partners, whether it's bylaw or the NRP, to get that enforcement process rolling. As I mentioned, the student code of conduct is available, but it's not the first step. So these are ongoing concerns, escalated concerns. egregious concerns. I'm not saying that there is no option. I'm just saying it's not the first option. And as you've noted in the meeting thus far, that chain of open line of communication is in place. If we hear about concerned property, we share it with the bylaw and NRP. If they hear, it's often shared to us, and then we collectively figure out what the strategy is. I have some other thoughts that I'll reach out to you directly on related to some of the other items you mentioned.
So two things, Paul, if you want, there was, where's Elliot? I think you forwarded me some addresses, which I told you to forward to Jason Simpson. Jason's going to be getting a list of addresses, which we should work together with our community partners, because there's two things we have to find out here. Number one, pay a visit to these addresses. And number two, and I mean with bylaw and the university, or if it's the college. And step two, we have to make sure those places are licensed. And step three, we have to find out, are they students or are they not students? So I think that we need to follow up on those. And as I tell our community partners, we makes our job a lot easier if we have addresses that we can pay a visit to, because just random saying that this is going on. I know sometimes people come there from other areas, but what are the addresses of, and I think you supplied some, and I think that's something that is a step forward that we need to work on. Ken, go ahead, Councillor Sentence, but because then I want to move on to, I got to move on to Stephen Penny. I can't hear you, Councillor Sentence. You're not coming through at all.
Yeah, no. Thank you. I'm going to go through quickly to Elliot. Now, my suggestion on 4 to 12 is just. Am I coming through or no?
No, you're not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just quickly to Elliot and anyone else. My 4 to 12 was just an example of the start. And the way I see it is, if we can stop somebody while they're setting up a giant TV in their backyard and say, hey, wait a minute, this is a no-go, that maybe we stop it before it starts. But I'm all for all night. And I know on council, we've looked at trying to put more in overnight bylaw coverage. So that was my only thinking, to try and prevent something now that we have this extra person that's out there. So I can't imagine living like you're living. So we'll try everything we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dan, did you want to speak? I see your hand up there.
Yes. So in regards to the ongoing problems you're having there, please, we'll have Sergeant Virginia Moyer. So she's our community policing sergeant here. She's newly landed in division. She's off, unfortunately, on an injury right now, but that will be your point of contact for Paul with bylaw as well. And I'll make sure that she gets that information and that we start looking at some ways to assist. I think that it would probably be best that we actually attend with bylaw as well for those door knocks and those conversations, so that they're aware that the next step will be enforcement, and you are going to get a ticket, and there's going to be a zero tolerance. So I think that will help as well, so we can be part of that solution as well. And again, I apologize for some of the issues that you've been experiencing. I know that it's frustrating to hear this from the police, but sometimes identifying who the actual person is becomes difficult, because we only have so much grounds that we can actually utilize. And if we have 100 people, we have to know who are the organizers and who are the ones that are who are putting this in place. And that's who we want to get to, so that we can hold them accountable. So some of them are probably just along for the ride for the party, and once dispersed, they'll leave. But the ones that are organizing, we definitely want to hold accountable. So we'll make sure that Virginia is in contact with Paul, and that we can help out in that situation. So I just wanted you to know that she's our point of contact, and that we'll have her more engaged with that. Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Stephen Penny, I'll put you up next. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We live on White Ash Road. We're glad to be here. To support the last 3 weeks, I've actually walked those streets there, and I've been intimidated by what I've seen. It's really disappointing, so I just want to confirm it. So it's a real issue in that area there, and my heart goes out to those neighbors. I just want to also say, I want to thank the mayor. I've seen a notable improvement on the boulevard maintenance on Juneberry, and this weekend I saw a crew out in the green space. So thank you for cleaning up our neighborhood. For us here, we care about our neighborhood. We want to live here, and all we're looking to do is work with all of us to make it better. I want to speak briefly to property standards. That's the issue. Fully support zero tolerance. But one issue is the newspapers. To give you an example, my wife and I carry on a weekly basis a basket. We clean up White Ash Road because the newspaper are dropped on the driveway. They don't pick it up. As a minimum, I suggest ask Niagara this week to put a plastic bag on it because all those newspapers end up on the fence. And on Winterberry Drive, it's a mess. I would recommend one step further. Eliminate it. It's causing trash and garbage in the whole neighborhood. It's awful what's happening. So,
Steve, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. We passed a bylaw. That's against the bylaw to throw the newspapers at the curb. So that's a bylaw issue. We have a bylaw in place already. Paul, do you want to duly note that? And Niagara this week's aware of that. And we need to contact them because that's a point well taken.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, no, I respect it. It's a young man who's doing it. But even if you put it on the driveways, they drive over it or they leave it there. And 3 days later, we end up picking 40 newspapers that are on the road or the wind blows it away. So maybe a common sense solution is eliminate it for this neighborhood because of the renters. It causes an unsightly look. And when I walk down Winterberry, it's terrible. But just a comment. The other issue is on property standards is just not the front yard. It's the side yard and the rear yard. I commend you on the online application, but I look forward to working with the team for zero tolerance. Even if it ends up costing the city $60,000 a year to adhere to, it's worth it because it improves our neighborhoods. And it's only 20% of the landlords that aren't doing it. You know, let's go after them. Let's change their behaviors. And I'd like to work with everyone. And to conclude, my heart goes out to the couple before me. I've seen it. I was scared walking down that street the last 3 weeks. And there's only 3 or 4 of those townhouses that are having those big parties. I was intimidated.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for coming to council. As Steve is the CAO of the city of Welland, and we're happy that you live in the city of Thorold. So, and we're happy that you came and brought these issues up, and we like you to be involved, and we thank you for being involved and bringing these points to our attention. So now, I just want to open for roundtable. If anybody wants to add something before we go to closing remarks, roundtable discussion. If you put your hand up, I have Linda. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I would just like to ask if there are minutes of these meetings that would be sent out to the stakeholders, if we would be receiving those minutes, and if there's a follow-up meeting.
Yes, I will tell you when the follow-up meeting is, and minutes are taken, and those minutes will be available. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Brad, did you want anything in closing?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just actually a similar request. I think that the delegations both provided written submissions, and I wonder if those could be circulated to the committee members so that we can review in detail.
Yes, that would be great. If you would send those to our clerk, and then they can be part of the minutes of today's meeting. Okay.
And then in reverse, I don't know that the delegations received the documents that were provided in advance.
Yes.
So if that could be handled as well.
Yes, they have, but we're going to make sure they get them as well, Brad. So, okay. So anyone else? Okay, here's what I want to tell you. This has been a great meeting. I really appreciate you coming forward. And the reason I invited everyone to come, this is the forum. This is where we take note of things and we can act on them. And I'm happy that you come and you're vocal and you're part of your community and you want to make a difference. And that's important. And that's why you're invited to any of these meetings that we have. So here's what's going to transpire now. We're going to start working on some of these initiatives with our community partners. We will be holding what I call small subcommittee meetings through September, especially making sure we're tracking. What I'm asking for any of you, feed us the information. If you're seeing things improving or not improving, we need that information. It's best you can do that through our bylaw department. You can get a hold of me, our clerk, but let's try and work together to make things better. The other thing is we are going to meet as this committee again. I put a date of October 25th at 10 a.m. That's the week before Halloween, okay? We always traditionally have a meeting before that, but this committee, I just want you to know, doesn't stop working when we leave this meeting today. We work on initiatives. All our community partners know the things we're going to took note of and that we will work on, as well as our subcommittee, which really makes sure that we're firing on all cylinders. Listen, we're not perfect. I'm not going to come here and tell you that things are going to be tremendous a week from now, but I can tell you that we're going to work on making it better. And I can tell you that we have made a difference in the past, and we will continue to work to make a difference moving forward. So I want to thank everybody, and this has been a real good meeting, and I really appreciate you coming, because the rest of our partners can actually hear what I've heard, and they know these issues are real, and we need to work on them, and we need to make things better. So again, I need a motion to adjourn then. I got a motion from Idolo, seconded by Andrew. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And again, thank you, everyone. And Brad, we've got a lot of work to do, all our partners, and we will, and then I'll follow up. Paul, you'll follow up with Jason, and I'll follow up with them as well. And I know that Dan, you've got a lot on your plate, and I know that you'll work with us, and we'll continue to move forward. What I say to Sam and where's Kaylee is, we really need your help on this. As union leaders, you really can help make a difference. So we really need you to work with us, and I know you will. So once again, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you for sharing your concerns. Thank you for meeting you, or nice to meet you.
Thanks, everyone, for your input, and we look forward to meeting with you again, see where we go.
Thank you.